and New Orleans first met this season, the Breakers were riding the crest of Johnny Walton's red-hot passing. The first-year Bulls never had a chance. The bounces were going the Breakers' way back in March, with Frank Lockett leading New Orleans to its 4th straight victory and bringing the Breaker family together as one. But the party ended for the Breakers last week when Dick Corey's mistake-prone squad was eliminated from the playoffs. Against Jacksonville this time around, Buford Jordan and the Breakers are simply looking to save face. Behind Jordan's mastery of the ground, New Orleans draws close. And when Walton returns to him through the air, the Breakers take a 7-0 lead. The rookie from McNeese State is far from through, however, tripping the Bulls up for a 27-yard score and a 17-3 lead in the 3rd quarter. Jordan's 198-yard effort is his finest day as a pro. But it's the resilient Bulls who have the last laugh in this rematch, as fullback Michael Whiting brings Jacksonville to within 7. Then in the final minutes of regulation, rookie Perry Kemp cooks the Cajun defense to force a tie at 17. And like shattered glass, the Breakers' heart is broken. In overtime, the ball is in Brian Franco's court, and the former Penn State Nittany Lion gives Jacksonville coach Lindy Infante reason to roar with a 2017 triumph. After 6 weeks without a victory, the Bulls remember just how sweet it is. Denver's heading to the Generals' battleground, but New Jersey's defense, led by Big James Lockett, turns it into a playground. After a 7-1 start, Denver's lost 7 of 8. And against Brian Sipes' new wide-open offense, the slide continues. Now the goal needs a win this week and an Arizona loss to make it into the playoffs. Simply put, it hasn't been a good year for the Chicago Blitz. Against Arizona, the Blitz gets a good old horsewhipping, both on and off the field. A statistical leader all year long, the Wranglers fashioned their first 3-game winning streak at Chicago's expense and now have the inside track for the final playoff vacancy. Philadelphia hasn't lost at home in almost 15 months. And though the Washington Federals are no match, Curtis Bledsoe finds enough holes to become the Fed's first 1,000-yard rusher. Behind Chuck Bucina, the league's #1 rated quarterback, the Stars cruise past the Federals and prepare for the playoffs with a league record 16th victory. One of the Stars' quiet leaders is Antonio Gibson. But against Michigan's Anthony Carter in last year's championship game, Gibson watched the Stars' chances for a title slip away. A natural safety, Gibson played cornerback last season. And this year, Philly was intent on putting the hitman back in his favorite position.
We were trying to find a corner that could come in and play for us and allow us to move Antonio Gibson, who is a real true safety, off the corner to the safety position.
Well, the Stars found their man in Ohio State's Garcia Lane, the Buckeyes' all-time leading punt returner. Philly obtained the rights to Lane from New Jersey for Lawrence Taylor's rights, and the fearless rookie has emerged as the leading punt return man in the USFL's Eastern Conference. Even more important, Lane filled the need at cornerback for the Stars and is second on the team with 5 interceptions. With Lane excelling on the corner, Philly's been able to move Antonio Gibson back to safety, where he's drawing rave reviews as the last line of defense. When it comes to picking off passes, Garcia Lane and Antonio Gibson have helped make Philly #1. The #1 team in the West these days is the LA Express, and against Oakland, they face their biggest game of the year. Steve Young can put LA in the playoffs with a victory over the Invaders, and that's Mel Gray's express purpose as well. Gray's 76-yard touchdown gives the Express a 7-3 lead. Noting Gray's success, Young also takes to the road, and the league's Player of the Week leaves Oakland far behind. Leading 14-6, LA's pushing all the right buttons. But Fred Basana and the Invaders have won 7 straight. And behind both Arthur Whittington and rookie running back Eric Jordan, they moved to within 2 at 14-12. Jordan was half of the Purdue backfield last year, but the focus this day is on the other half. And Mel Gray chalks up his second touchdown of the day to give LA a 9-point lead. Oakland also needs this win to stay in the playoff race, and Basana looks to Brian Williams to provide the fourth-quarter heroics. Both teams have staged phenomenal second-half comebacks. Now it all comes down to one game and one play. Trailing 24-19 on the last play of the game, Oakland goes for broke. And in one of those plays that'll live forever, LA wins it, then loses it, then breathes a giant sigh of relief. The rags to riches story ends with LA wearing a playoff smile. Nobody's jumping ship where the Three Rivers meet in Pittsburgh, as Mauler fans have a confident eye on the future.
Yeah, the Maulers will make it by next year. Maybe they'll even take the championship by next year.
In about 2 more years, the Maulers are going to roll. They're going to be #1. USFL is here to stay.
But they really play their heart out. Looking forward to next year.
The Maulers #1! The Maulers #1! The Maulers #1! The Maulers #1! The Maulers #1!
With just 3 wins in 16 games, Pittsburgh has nowhere to go but up. But Glenn Carano and the Maulers self-destruct early against the playoff-bound Tampa Bay Bandits. And Tampa's Jeff George reminds the Maulers that even the most die-hard fans still appreciate a little tackling. Later in the half, John Reeves shows why the Bandits have the top passing offense in the Eastern Conference. Gary Anderson's 21st touchdown of the year gives the Bandits a halftime lead and leaves the Maulers searching for a break. But with his second-best day as a pro, Mike Rozier shows glimmers of that future promise.
And the pitch is to Rozier, trying to go outside to the 10, to the 8. He's spun out to the 8-yard line. Rozier going left. He's blocked there. Now he reverses his field, comes to the near side. To the 30, the 35, to the 40, to the 45, and out of bounds. And what a brilliant piece of running by Mike Rozier. Again, Ira leading the way. Mike getting outside to the 5. Touchdown! Untouched into the end zone, would you believe?
Rozier's 72-yard day puts Pittsburgh within sight of a major upset. But Reeves then turns things over to his cannonball runner. And Greg Boone goes 80 yards to ice the 21-9 triumph. While Tampa maintains its winning ways, the growing up phase continues for the Maulers. Tampa's Greg Boone learned what it's like to be a 1,000-yard rusher last week, reaffirming the style of a man too often lost behind the flashier Gary Anderson.
I might get hit or something like that, and I guess because I have a wide base, I just don't fall down.
The former Duke Blue Devil was the first rusher to gain more than 100 yards in a game last year and finished his rookie season with almost 700 yards. The Though still a superb blocking back, Boone this year is building a reputation as one of the premier runners in the league. Still another rusher coming into his own in '84 is New Jersey General Maurice Carthen. Carthen labored in the shadow of Herschel Walker last season, but this year, he's racking up the yards.
Coach Mike has given me a chance to, do some things, take some pressure off Herschel. Last year we just Herschel, and I had to block a lot. And this year I think it's opening up and we complement each other well.
Almost exclusively a blocker for Walker last year, Carthen gained little more than 300 yards. When he exceeded the 1,000-yard mark this past week, he and Walker became only the 4th tandem in pro history to top the 1,000-yard plateau. Maurice Carthen and Greg Boone now rushing into the playoffs. In Memphis, the quest for revenge against Birmingham has sold out the 50,000-seat Liberty Bowl. For some, post-game spirits are equally important.
They got champagne in that locker room. We're going to drink beer after the ball game, fellas. We ain't gonna let them drink no champagne on us. There's all kind of passions in this world. There's love, greed, patriotism. There's the one that makes a man win the Medal of Honor. Anger.
Well, the Showboats appear angry enough to avenge Birmingham's 54-6 pasting earlier this season when Mike Thomas accepts Leon Perry's gift and sets up Alan Duncan's go-ahead field goal. Thomas's heroics are just a minor setback for Cliff Stout and the Stallions, however, and the league's second-rated quarterback looks to the receiver with more yards than anyone, number 86, Jim Smith. Once in striking distance, Stout chalks up his 9th rushing touchdown of the year, 2 more than teammate Joe Cribbs. But Cribbs is involved in one of the normally conservative Stallions' more creative efforts. Memphis quarterback Mike Kelly isn't about to disappoint the sellout crowd, and he locates Derek Crawford for a play that's proven successful for the Boats all year long. Trailing 21-10, Rogers decides to stick with what works, and Crawford is once again asked to lend a hand. On Fan Appreciation Night, the Boats put on quite a show. But Birmingham coach Riley Dodge has a dynamic duo of his own in Stout and Smith. And 50 yards later, it's all over. Birmingham's 35-20 win leaves the Boats grounded. The division champion Stallions ride into the playoffs with a perfect 9-0 record on the road.
We came out here today and played maybe the best team in USFL, 451,000 people. They came to see you play. And every one of you deserve a great deal of credit. And I told you before the game I love you, and I love you every bit as much right now. Hey, we're number 1, but let's hear some boogie! Let's boogie!
Well, win, lose, or draw, Pepper Rogers is always up for a post-game party. And in the shadows of the Showboats' final home game of the season, the effective coach and infectious showman thanks the fans of Memphis in his own inimitable fashion for their loving support. Gamblers defended their claim to Texas in Houston. The San Antonio boys are in town. Rick, babyface Neuheisel, and Gil, Pop Stanky. Gunslingers, lured by the lights. Those boys were a feisty bunch. They had Joey Hackett from Elon, North Carolina, and Mike Hagan, who learned his craft under Montana's Big Sky. But even their loyal band of followers fell silent when Jim Kelly walked to the table. Now, legend has it Kelly wasn't at the top of his game that night, The Slingers took him 4 times, with that renegade Rock Richmond turning the cards just after their first score. The San Antone gang surprised Kelly with their quickness, and Neuheisel surprised everyone with a silver bullet to Don Roberts. But Kelly was sharp enough to find Richard Johnson just before the half to make it 20-7 Gunslingers. And folks paused a moment to tip their hat to his 41st touchdown pass of the year, the all-time pro record. Of course, in the second half, Houston got serious, led by the raging Cajun, Clarence Verdun. And when Kelly zeroed in on Scott McGee, well, the Gamblers were in striking distance. Get it! Then Todd Fowler put Houston up 21-20. But 2 more Nick Mickemeyer field goals gave the Rowdy Slingers a 5-point lead. And in the final minutes, it all came down to Kelly. It took Kelly just 2 plays and 33 seconds to cover 79 yards and clear the place out. The clincher went to Ricky Sanders, giving Houston a 29-26 win and the bragging rights to Texas. The Slingers were gone by sundown, and the Houston legend lived on. Well, looking back to this time last year, the Pontiac Silverdome was home for the hottest team around. Now the Michigan Panthers are back, looking for a chance to repeat as the USFL's #1 team.
You're talking Michigan Panthers, you're talking winners, you're talking us. Right here.
The reeling Oklahoma Outlaws, with Rick Johnson at the helm, seek to stall Michigan's quest for postseason play. Al Williams gets the Outlaws close, with Johnson then returning to Williams to force a 7-7 tie. Early in the second half, Panther quarterback Bobby Hebert spins a spiral to tight end Mike Cobb, who's now caught passes in 37 straight games. Behind Hebert's 4 touchdown passes, the Panthers are flying high. Derek Holloway helped seal Michigan's 34-24 win over the hapless Outlaws. And the Panthers earn a shot at the title for the 2nd year in a row. The road may have been rockier this time, but the destination's the same.
Last year we were glad to get to the playoffs, and this year it's like we were expected to. So we expected this from ourselves as a team, and we just hope we can play well and get back to the championship game.
8 teams will be invited to the playoff dance this year. And as the regular season reaches its finale, we pay tribute to the USFL's movers and shakers.
Locomotion, he's a jerk and he's swift, but there just ain't never been nothing like this. Now popping and locking is new.